Breaking news today. A GOP presidential candidate has demanded that more concessions be made to Vladimir Putin. On Sunday, Republican presidential candidate for 2024 Vivek Ramaswamy said he would make major concessions to Russian President Vladimir Putin in order to bring an end to the conflict in Ukraine. Putin's February 2014 invasion of Ukraine has remained a focal point of the 2024 presidential campaign as candidates seek to distinguish themselves as capable foreign policy leaders. President Joe Biden has been criticized by Republicans, who argue that the billions of dollars in military aid Biden has given to Ukraine have served Ukraine's interests rather than those of the United States. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has been widely condemned as unprovoked and without justification, but this aid has been credited with bolstering Ukraine's defenses. The businessman Ramaswamy has promised that he will not spend another dime of American money on a war that does not affect our interests, if he is elected. During an appearance on This Week on Sunday morning, Martha Raddatz of ABC News asked him, "You don't think the idea of Russia taking over Ukraine is not in our interests?" in reference to his position on the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. As for Ramaswamy, he said that while he does not think Russia taking over Ukraine is preferable, he also does not think it should be a top foreign policy priority for the United States. Instead, he said that if he were president, he would focus on the alliance between China and Russia, which he considers to be our top military threat. Many world leaders have issued sanctions against Russia and provided support for Ukraine, and Russia's main ally in this conflict has been China. Despite having one of the world's largest armies and economies, Beijing has taken a more neutral stance on the conflict. However, many experts believe that it is actually supporting Russia. Meanwhile, relations between the two countries have strengthened since the war broke out. According to Ramaswamy, the Sino-Russian alliance is the top threat we face, and he thinks we are driving Russia into China's hands by continuing to fight in Russia and arm Ukraine. He continued by saying he would try to mediate a ceasefire that would reward Putin with concessions if he would have Russia withdraw from its agreements with China. He opined, "What I think we need to do is end the Ukraine war on peaceful terms, that yes, do make some major concessions to Russia, including freezing the current lines of control, which Ukraine wouldn't want to do, and also a permanent commitment not to allow Ukraine to enter NATO. Russian participation in the treaty and the joint military agreement with China must be terminated. I think that would be much more beneficial to American interests and would discourage China from attacking Taiwan, which is a much higher priority for the United States." Republican hopefuls have been uniformly critical of Biden's handling of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, but they have offered wildly divergent strategies for how to proceed. Trump, who is currently in the lead in the polls, has placed the blame for the war on Biden and claimed it never would have happened if Biden had been re-elected in 2020. The war, he says, will be over within 24 hours, if he can just talk to Putin. He has also stated that an agreement between Russia and Ukraine could have prevented the invasion. According to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, the United States should not get involved in the conflict in Ukraine because it is a territorial dispute, and not a matter of vital national interest. Additionally, he has stated that the war is wrong. Other Republican candidates, meanwhile, have stated that they would be willing to help Ukraine. In an interview with the Christian Broadcasting Network in February, Nikki Haley, a former governor of South Carolina and current ambassador to the United Nations, said, "We have the backs of our friends, and we hold our enemies to account. We support free nations everywhere, from Ukraine to Israel, and the fight for liberty is one we must continue forever."